Hello, and thank you for purchasing Track and Time. My name is Karen Oberg, and I'll be your guide through Track and Time today. I am the principal and owner of Oberg Research, and I developed this software because I was tracking and timing children moving through a children's museum, and I needed something in which I could collect data about both time and behaviors very, very quickly, and then efficiently look at my analysis, or do my analysis efficiently. Today, Track and Time has two pieces to it. One on the web, that's this Track and Time Web Administration Utility, and then the app that's on your tablet. The discussion about the app on the tablet will be a separate video. Today, we're only going to focus on the Web Administration Utility. The first thing you want to do is go to the Web Administration Utility, and that's at this website up here in gray, obergresearch.com/trackandtime. Now once you've gotten here, this is the first time you're at this screen, so you're new to Track and Time and you need to register. We're going to click on that. You'll see here that registration is very simple. First name, last name, email, a password to be able to get into the administrator, and verify password. The key element here is that the email you put in must be the same email of the person who purchased the application. So if a colleague purchased the app for their tablet, but you are going to be using the Web Utility Administrator, you must use your colleague's email address. Now I'm not going to register because I already have. I'm going to take you back to the login page. So let's put in my address and my password and log in. And by the way, once you register, you will get a registration confirmation email to the email address you put in within about 20 to 25 minutes. It's usually much faster than that. So when you log in, you go to the home page. And there's news here that we may put up, letting you know of new map navigation, for example, or other things happening. But what you really want to look at is projects, which is right here. You also see devices, account, and log out. Users and licenses will not appear on your screen. Again, these two, users and licenses, will not appear on your screen. They appear on mine because I am a manager of the system. So let's go to projects. Now we developed this so that you can input your entire project, all of the pieces, without ever leaving this page. So as you can see, there's no data available in the table. That means there's no project. Let's go ahead and add a project. Let's say this project is for a history museum here in Atlanta, Georgia. So we'll put ATL History Museum. I'm going to put a description in, it's the same thing. And I'm going to make this project active. That's very important. If your project is not active, it will not show up on your tablet. And now you see I've got my project. Now I need to put in what it is I'm going to observe visitors doing, as well as the behaviors, or where I'm going to see them engaging with the museum and their behaviors. Groups is your largest organizational structure. For tracking and timing projects that have more than, say, 8 or 9 engagement opportunities, we discovered that having them divided up into groups made it easier for the data collector to find things quicker. So in a sense, groups, I usually think of it in terms of how an exhibition might be broken up, the sections of an exhibition. So let's put in some groups. One group name might be the beginning or the middle of my exhibition, and that's Atlanta history from 1830 to the Civil War. And I want that to be displayed first on my tablet. And it says invalid project. So let's go back for a moment. I clicked on it to turn brown. I might not have done that before. You have to do that. Let's try this again. And press to 1. Ah, there we go. So again, you have to click on which project it is you want your groups to go to, otherwise you get that invalid project. Let's add a few more. 1866 to 1910. I want that to be the second. Now this is an exhibit that only goes as far as 1910, but I just realized that I forgot to put in the very early part of the exhibit, and I actually want that to be first in my display order. So let me put in 1800 to 1830, display order 1, because that's how I want it. And as you see, it pushes everything down. So now 1800 to 1830, which is the first part of the exhibit, is number 1. 1830 to the Civil War got pushed to number 2, and then subsequently everything else. Now the elements. Elements are anything your visitor is going to engage with in your museum. It is your exhibits. It is cell phone guides. It is paper guides. It is a docent tour. It could be media. It could be video. It could be interactives. It is anything. This is our catch-all word for that. Another way to think about this is in your paper tracking and timing. It's whatever it is on your piece of paper in your map that the visitor is going to go use. Another way to think about it. So let's add a few elements. One is going to be a log cabin. Description, I'm going to give it its exhibit name. Now the important thing here is the element name shows up on your tablet, the description does not. That was to save room. It also means that the element name needs to be an agreed upon element name that you and your data collectors can recognize. The description can be anything you want, which is why we're putting in the actual exhibit number, because that's easier when we do analysis for us. But that description doesn't show up on your tablet. The display order, I want it to show up first, and it's going to be in the group 1800 to 1830. And let's put in a few more. There's also something called a shotgun cabin, just a little bit different, later in time. We'll give it its number. And it's also going to be first. It's actually going to be later. It's going to be the first one when you click on 1866 to 1910. And let's just add 2 more here. We're going to do a anti-slavery sign. I want that to be the first for 1830 to the Civil War. Now you'll notice down here it says display order, and it's displaying it in the order we've entered it into the web. Although you can't see it here, when you go to your tablet, things will be displayed in the correct order under the same group. Now let me show you one more element, and this is downtime. Now downtime is interesting because downtime is considered that time that visitors are not engaged with anything in the museum or not engaged with the exhibit that you're looking at. So for example, that downtime might be they're looking at their cell phone, although again that's one's tricky because they might be doing something with the exhibit, but assuming that they're not. It's planning where they're going next. It's going to the gift shop. It's going to the cafe. For some people, it's moving between exhibits. It's sitting down and theoretically staring into space, although they just might be thinking about the exhibit, is downtime. Downtime was not included as anything in this software. The reason is because I developed it in a children's museum, and for children there is no downtime. They just run from one thing to the next. So it never occurred to me to actually put it in. This is the workaround. And you can put downtime as an element, or you can put downtime as a behavior. We'll discuss downtime as behavior when we get to behaviors. But downtime is downtime. For description, the display order, I actually want it almost last. I don't think I'm going to hit it too often. And I want to put it in all 3 groups because downtime can happen anywhere in these exhibitions. And there it is. So now let's go to behaviors. Now let's fix the display order. Now when I was designing this, I did research and looked at both what other researchers were using in their tracking and timing studies, what I had learned back many years ago, and what I've learned since in my experiences doing this. And I made some assumptions that everyone pretty much uses the same behaviors. That assumption was totally incorrect. And so what you have here is 13 set behaviors that you cannot change. But you can add as many customizable behaviors as you would like. The reason we didn't take out the original 13 behaviors is because, first of all, some of them you may actually use, like reading the labels or the directions, this fourth one down, or tracking how often somebody asks a utility question about an interactive. That's the asks use question. But we're also hoping that someday in the future, enough people will use this that we'll actually have many, many, many projects all looking at the same behaviors, and perhaps there's a larger study out there. In the meantime, we needed to make this accessible to all of you. So we allow you to add in behaviors. So one behavior could be those of you who have audio tours that you use your cell phone to call in. So let's call this cell phone tour. And we actually want it to be the first thing that shows up. Pushes everything else down. Cell phone tour. And so on your tablet, cell phone tour will be the first thing you see. Descriptions of all of these other set behaviors can be found on our FAQ page on our website. Now, I mentioned that behaviors, you can add as many new behaviors as you want. The same holds for elements and for groups. It is an unlimited number. Of course, this is also where I warn everybody to be careful that your tracking study is not too complicated, because with this it could get very complicated. So now we have our project, we have our groups, we have our elements, we have our behaviors. Now we want to put in a map. You must do your elements first before you upload your map. So let's go ahead and upload the map. So the current map, we choose a file. We upload the map. We wait a few moments while it loads up. And whoop, there it is. Put the page down. And there's directions here about how to now attach your elements to your map. So what we do, let's see, my anti-slavery sign is here. See a little green dot. My shotgun cabin is over here. My log cabin is over here. Downtime's a little funny because it doesn't really show up on a map, but we can have it as a as a place we know a lot of downtime happens, which is right here, and you can just keep going back to the same downtime dot on your map as you go through your tracking study. So now we've got everything connected. We want to save those map coordinates. And we want to leave here. And now you see map actually had been grayed out all the way up to this point. It is now a solid color. You are now done setting up your project. You've set up the project name. You've given it the groups if you want them, your elements, your behaviors, and the map that goes with that project. You do not need to upload a map. That is key here. If it is easier for you to just see the elements down the left side of your tablet and just click on the element on your tablet, go right to the right page, rather than using a map, that is just fine. It will work beautifully that way. The last step you now need to do, you're done with your project management, you need to go to devices. You need to connect this project to your tablet. The way you do that, you see I have two devices here. On your account, you need to add your device. So you click Add. You have device ID, the name, the description, and the projects. The device ID. On an iPad, your device ID is also known as your UDID. So again, UDID, it's about 36 to 40 letters long. That's what that device ID is, and that's what you need to put in, because when we discuss what it looks like on the tablet, you go through an additional registration process on your tablet, a very quick one, but it uses the device ID. And in the magic background, we connect the two devices. So your device ID needs to be that UDID number on your iPad, and you get to that through Settings, General, and About. If you're using a Google tablet, so Samsung, Motorola, anything that's not an iPad, it's the IMEI number. Again, that's the IMEI number. And at this time, I'm unsure exactly how you would get to that, but my guess is it's similar to the iPad, where there's a Settings or a General, and you want to get to an About. And at About should be that IMEI number. Another way to look at these numbers is they tend to be a scramble of letters and numbers. So that's your device ID, your name, or the name of whoever owns the device, the description. And then you want to connect the project to your device. So we've done 2 clicks now. We've made the project active, and we've connected it to the device. Remember, active was something we did way in the beginning when we first set up the project. Okay, and then you would hit create. I'm going to click out of this. Again, one last thing with the device IDs. Here's my device ID for my iPad. It's long. It's got letters and numbers. Here's the one for my Galaxy tablet, which is a Samsung product. And as you can see, it's numbers and letters. At this point, you are done. And you log out. And now we're going to go over to the other video, which will talk about what actually happens on your tablet. Thank you for listening, and for more information, please contact us at obergresearch.com. You can contact me personally at oberg@obergresearch.com. Thank you.